Inventory assertions. So a lot of important things in here when it comes to inventory. First off, existence. Is that inventory actually exist at the balance sheet date? Is it really out there? Next would be completeness. Do we have all the inventory transactions included in our inventory account activity? Do we have rights and obligations to that inventory? Is it ours? Is that consigned inventory that someone else has given us to sell? Do we have consigned inventory that's out somewhere else that we need to make sure is included in all of this? The valuation method is also very interesting topic because on really large multinational companies, you could have several inventory methods. Smaller companies and medium-sized companies, you might have one main method, and we'll go about talking about some of those inventory methods in a little bit. And then obviously you want the presentation disclosures related to inventory. Like I said, some of those multinational publicly traded companies will show that they use several different inventory methods depending on which geographical location, which type of business segment that they're talking about. So all these things factor into inventory. So the inherent risks of the payment cycle include the following, especially related to inventory. You've got material in dollar value, could be a ton of dollars in inventory. You'll have those multiple and alternate valuation methods that we just discussed. You'll have complex and diversity. So think of contact lenses, all these little tiny contact lenses that are in boxes. So you've got a type of lens, which could be some specialty type of lens that you use, and or some common lenses. You've got all of these different types of lenses. But then you've also got brands. So if you're a warehouser that sells all sorts of brands, you could have lenses from the different manufacturers, those different types of lens that we talked about, and then think about all the multiple prescriptions and pluses and minuses that people's lenses can have. So you could have thousands and thousands of items that are all being tracked from an inventory system. So that's a complex and diverse side of inherent risk of the inventory. Now, there could be high volume of activity, just like I talked about those lenses. Tons of lenses going out everywhere, all the time to different customers. You could have obsolescence, so there's obsolete inventory that nobody's using anymore. The best way to identify that when you're doing a walk around is the dust that's collected on those boxes. It can easily be stolen. Inventory, in fact, when we're talking about the contact lenses, you know what a box of contact lenses would look like. You know how easy that would be to put into someone's pocket, and they could steal it from the warehouse. You might have multiple warehouses and multiple locations. Consignment it maybe hundreds of locations. So these are all inherent risks in the inventory side of the payment cycle. In the accounts payable cycle, invoices can be ignored or not properly reflected on the balance sheet. So all it takes is someone to put an invoice that they don't want to reflect on the balance sheet in a drawer and hold on until after the auditors leave, then bring it out and pay it or enter it into the system. Classifications of assets and expenses are done properly, and management could hide expenses as assets to try to make the financial statements look good. So you're going to be looking at those classifications of the payables that are entered. Now, related to fraud in the payment cycle, you've got all sorts of disbursement fraud that's out there. Some of the main ones you'll see are fake vendors, or also known as shell companies, where someone has the ability to set up a fictitious vendor in the master data, probably put their own address or their own bank account as far as where the payments go, and then they'll create fake invoices that get paid, and they likely do not require that three-way match that we talked about earlier, because it might be a service. Remember, there's no goods that are received on a service invoice. So you get an invoice, someone approves it, puts it into the system, and it gets paid. If someone's really conniving, they can tell someone to set up that vendor, approve that invoice, and they've essentially approved an invoice to pay themselves. So there could be theft of inventory by an employee, like we said before. So if you see significant number of manual adjustments in the inventory or excessive inventory shrinkage, then it's likely that you've got some sort of theft of inventory going on. There's also the financial schemes of reclassifying expenses as assets to make the books look good. And then also, an employee could procure personal items through the corporate expense accounts. And unless you track those expense accounts, you might not find out that an employee has bought personal travel or bought personal items through the corporate account. Financial statement fraud in the payment cycle are reasons why people might manipulate uh, their financials through the payment cycle are they want their bottom line to look good or their gross profit to look good. So they may want dollars out of their cost of goods and into their inventory. So they may overstate their inventory in a way that makes their cost of goods look smaller so that they look more profitable. They also may want to overstate that inventory for debt covenants that they have out there. So they might have some financing through a bank that says, hey, you've got to have so much in inventory to back up this debt that we are giving you. And so they might want that inventory to stay inflated to back up that debt, and you might have some bad inventory numbers in there. The flip side of that is they may be paid upon how well they're turning inventory over, so they want inventory to look smaller and lower. So that could be a manipulation. So it's really important to understand what the management drivers are that's important to them, and that might lead you to if there is a financial statement fraud going on. So let's talk about some of the different areas. Unrecorded purchases. You've got a big purchase that comes in, you received it in, but you don't enter it in the system. So when you're out there looking at the inventory and you see this a lot sitting there on the docks and not taken and put into the inventory system, it could be a year-end manipulation to keep their inventory numbers lower. So that's why those cutoff issues are very important. Also, when we're looking at invoices, and potentially we might want to lower our inventory by recording product that we're going to return or that did get returned after year end, but record it early so it makes our inventory look lower. So that's another area that could be up for manipulation. Valuations are kind of a big deal because people can alter certain types of inventory valuations throughout the year. They can make their inventory amounts look lower because of that. They can also purposefully miscalculate the inventory method or alter costing methods throughout the process. So you've got to be aware of those situations, especially in material items or significantly moving items, so that you make sure there's no manipulation there. They could be manipulating it related to that debt covenant also, trying to make the inventory look higher value than it is. Obsolete inventory, if you leave obsolete inventory in there, it's really misguiding the reader of the financial statements as to the real true value of your inventory, since you're never going to be able to sell it. Now, especially if you're keeping it at the high value that it may have been when you first got it. Now, if it's obsolete, you've either got to write down that inventory value or write off that inventory. You might leave it on there to manipulate your financials if you want the bank to think you have good inventory in there to back that financing. And finally, you may double count inventory, especially if you have a periodic system. If you accidentally double count inventory, you'll make it look high when it really shouldn't be high. And this is why I always say the gross margin percentage is a great test, because if it's had significant change in the percentage, that's an identifier that there's been some sort of manipulation of inventory or cost of goods sold data.